super smart. And then the kind of the big thing that happened was because Napster was eating everybody's lunches, there was a company called Transworld Entertainment, and they owned a bunch of retailers like Camelot Music or whatnot. And so they wanted a way for people to like listen to music in stores and DVDs in stores without having to put the CD in a machine. Right. So I designed a pod. It's called the listening viewing station, and you scan anything, and they would just look up the UPC code. And instead of having 10 CDs you could listen to, you could just have a $2,000 computer. You can have everything. And of course, the next progression is to have your device, and you come in, and stores can only fit 10,000 physical items. But you could put a PC in there, and you could have everything. Yeah. And if you imagine at the time, there was no place where you could get. I mean, we literally had to like pay a company to take DVDs and rip the trailer off of it and encode the trailer. Like you couldn't get those things digital. There was no pipeline for digital content creation. Right. And that made a shit ton of money. And again, I was a CTO and I was a lead engineer. And the whole issue, the whole business complexity was there was a bunch of people with stock that were from this previous company that had nothing to do with digital media, and all these people were fighting because the stock went to $6, and the board, I wasn't on the board, people kicked people out, and now you have all these people fighting for like money and being lied to and basically being duped out of stock. Like people were saying, I wouldn't have given stock back if I knew the stock was going to go up in price. And I'm an engineer, and it's not, and nobody hired me to do any of these things. It was just such a fucked up situation. And so at the end of it, and then Transworld was like, we want this, we want exclusivity, but we're not going to pay you for exclusivity. And it's like, and it was a very simple equation. It was just like, you can buy this at cost plus engineering, or you can have exclusivity with this much money. And they're like, well, we're not going to pay you that. We don't want exclusivity. And then the next day, like the CEO just went to like Best Buy. Like everybody else on the industry wanted it. Like it was a very simple equation. Like once people can sample something, they're like 3 times likely to buy it. Yeah. And so like and the machine was so cheap, it paid for itself so quickly. And so it was easy for the CEO to just go and sell it to Best Buy, and Best Buy going like, yeah, sure, we'll just deploy it. And then Transworld going like, fuck, because dedicated retailers, they make money on this, but big box retailers sell DVDs and CDs pretty much at cost, just so you go in and buy diapers. And so if they had a better system, and then they sued the company, and then I was like, fuck this, like this is like too much. And then I just moved on. And then in bankruptcy, I bought all the assets out of bankruptcy, because basically when I said, fuck it, I'm gone, I left. And what they do in this situation is they just like take all the computers and they auction it all off. And like nobody knows. I mean, and then there's these people are fighting over stuff, but ultimately like, it was above my pay grade, and it was like, and I was fighting so long and so hard for something that I made money, and I made good money. I didn't make as much of these people who were just doing nothing, who just had a bunch of stock from all this stuff. Yeah. I made a lot of people a lot of money. So I have no problem like, and I made a lot of people money who had no business in making money, and I had a lot of headache. But I went in, and because I was the inventor of the patents, the patent office. So in bankruptcy, I bought all non-cash assets. Everybody was fighting over money that nobody knew what the assets were, because they're fighting over money. So in bankruptcy, you're allowed to buy all non-cash assets. And then I bought, the servers from the auction house. And then so I had non-cash assets code and then all the patent stuff I was able to transfer into my name, and then so all the patents are in my name, and I just wanted to move on in life. Like it was just, like being a being a programmer, being a developer, you want to build, and there's a lot of shit that lawyers do. There's a lot of people who are just doing really dishonest things out there that make it harder to do work. And so, like, hats off to people who, maintain control and, manage boards, and there's a lot of people who prey on startups, prey on, it's just, there's a whole shitty, and, so that's kind of like a brief overview. And so Daddio came in from that. Full Play was a rebranding of interactive objects. Yeah. I think over the life of, when I started doing the digital media stuff to the end of Full Play, I mean, it made 20 some million. It made real money. It could have made more money. And like I said, in the stock, people made, tens of millions. Yeah. Like individuals made tens of millions of dollars. So that's kind of a nutshell of it. There's a lot more kind of details that, I already gave you way more detail than you need. All the code for Daddio is on GitHub. I think if you just search for, let's see.